What's up, guys? We are back. Fitness Profit Multiplier, Anthony and Jimmy. Today, we're going to be discussing, and this makes me laugh because I hate doing these too, but are client surveys really that important? You read every book, every guru tells you gotta survey your members. Do the net promoter score and focus on, finding out, surveys to your members, service to your members. Today, we're going to be discussing, is that really that important? And I laugh about it because I've said it from the beginning. So basically, for those of you that don't know what a net promoter score is, the net promoter score is one single question that you ask your entire, clients, and it basically says, how willing are you to? I forget what's the question. I don't even know. I haven't done it in so long.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how willing are you to refer your friends to this business or tell your friends about it? Something like that.
And if they mark it a 10, then they're like an advocate for your business. And if they mark it anything below an 8, then they're risking leaving your gym. Even when the first time I heard, I'm like, it's kind of dumb. Because it doesn't really say like they're going to stay, right? Like, how willing are you to, invite somebody in? But if you do a free training that we have below where you can get 10 new clients in 7 days with 0 ad spend, you kind of have the answer to that question right there. So, Jimmy, let's talk about it. Surveys. Do we have to do them? And if we do them, what should we be doing? Because we do surveys. I shouldn't say we don't do surveys, but they're not that question only.
Right. So now there's kind of two sides to this coin, right? So surveys can sometimes be helpful if you see trend lines in the answers that you're given, right? But surveys can also not be helpful in that clients will, for lack of a better term, just bitch to bitch, right? Sometimes they just bitch to bitch, and it's one of these things that you can't do anything about, right? They want to change the model in some way. They want to change the way that you do things. They complain about your no-show fee, or they complain about the duration of sessions, or things that are changed from when you started the business that make it more efficient, that your diehard members are wanting to change back to the way it was before. So that stuff doesn't really help you in your business and moving your business forward. But if you see some sort of trend line where somebody's like, well, it'd be really nice to have another clock on this wall over here, and you see another person say it and another person say it, it's like, how hard is it for you to put a clock on the wall? It's not, right? But sometimes when we look at net promoter score and things like that, you should be doing exit interviews with each client that cancels with you anyway. And that's where you're going to get a more real answer to why somebody is canceling from your facility. And those things are extremely valuable. But if you're doing that anyway, why do you need to get complaints on a regular basis, or not complaints on a regular basis, from a client survey where people just have suggestions about things and just want to do things? Have you ever walked out on the floor and you're talking to members about stuff, and a member will come up to you and be like, oh, it'd be really great if you fill in the blank, whatever it is. And you're just like, and then you walk back into the office and talk to your staff and be like, Jenny just said maybe not Jenny, but Mrs. Jones, we'll say Mrs. Jones, right? Mrs. Jones just said this, right? Mrs. Jones just said that we should, add a machine, or we should, I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but you know what I'm talking about when you walk out on the floor and members have suggestions about things that don't make any sense, right? And they're so, like, we had a member the other day say something like, well, your advertising doesn't really reflect your brand, and I really want to help you with that. And I'm like, this client came in off of the ad. I'm like, what? So it's just like, these are sometimes the things you get with surveys that are not the best in regards to helping you grow your business or change things that are actually meaningful, right? So that's one of the problems.
Well, one of the other problems too is a lot of gym owners, from what I've experienced talking to all you guys on the phone, is that a lot of you guys do things by feel. And that is a problem. So what that means is, and Jimmy and I talk about this all the time, and here at FPM, what we focus on is doing things by the data. So now you're going to send out this survey to, let's just say you have 100 members. You're going to send out this survey to 100 members. You're going to get one member that asks for a 12 o'clock session or whatever it is. And you're going to be like, oh my God, we need a 12 o'clock session now. Oh my God, we got to get a 12 o'clock session. And these little things are going to screw up your mind. But if you look at that and say, okay, I have 100 members, one person asked for 12 o'clock, it doesn't mean that you need to put a 12 o'clock session on there. But these things are going to get into your mind and kind of clutter your brain with, oh my God, I should do this. Or you'll have somebody ask something stupid like, you know, can we add cardio? I don't know. I'm trying to think of like dumb things that I've gotten over the years. But like, you know, hey, like Jimmy said, hey, we need a clock on the wall. It's funny because the clock thing in the gym is always something. I don't know why. I've taken down the clock and people complained about the clock back up. So like, it's just funny. I don't know what it is with the clock, but you know, someone asks for a clock and moving the clock across the room or whatever it is. It's like, why is that important? You know, but you have to keep in mind that this is the issue that comes up with these surveys is data. So if you're going to send out a survey, if, you know, 10 people ask for a 12 o'clock session, then that might be something you consider. But if it's one person, I would just push it off to the side.
That's a very good point, Anthony. It's something that wasn't at the top of my mind, but that's hugely important to consider, is that clients will ask for specific session times, right? And the clients that ask for specific session times and complain about it, once you add that session time, they don't show up for it.
I'm cracking up laughing because it is so true. Every single time we've had someone ask for a time and put the time on, they never show up for that time.
Yeah, that person specifically never shows up for it. They have all these suggestions and all these reasons as to why you should do X, Y, and Z, and they make a big presentation of it. Oh, well, because of this and because of that, and they try and like sell you into doing it. And you're like, I want to be customer service centric and I want to help my members. And initially you start to make those decisions, make those changes in your business for the betterment of the experience for clients. But then every time, without fail, you add that session in, and you know the person that shows up for that session? The person that shows up is the person that never talks to you about it, never complains about anything, and sees that it's a little bit more convenient in their schedule, so they jump in. But it's never the person that brought it up to you in the first place. Never, right? So it's one of these things where if it doesn't make sense for the numbers, don't do it. What makes sense for the numbers? That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, I mean, customer retention and, you know, customer success is a new industry, but customer success is mostly like for tech companies. You know, that's what tech companies use, customer success metrics and all these things. It's very hard for a gym to implement these things because it's such a personal business that there's a mirage reasons why people will leave your facility, and not so much maybe the X's and O's of what's going on. So like you asking your clients about, you know, I'm trying to think, I should pull up the survey that I found for customer success, but like asking them silly questions that don't really pertain to like what's going on in the gym is only going to get you silly answers. It's not going to give you the data that you need. Like there's pricing surveys that you can put out there. But again, why do you need a pricing survey? Of course, all the clients are going to tell you, yeah, I want it cheaper. Now, I don't think you're going to have one client that says, hey, you should be charging me more. So it's not going to be helpful data. So Jimmy, let's talk about if you are going to do a survey, what are the questions that you should be asking and what's in your survey if you're going to do one? And do you actually even do any at this point?
Yeah, we don't actually do surveys really. I, in the past, have surveyed people on things like what is their biggest thing that they're struggling with in their fitness right now? Like what would be helpful for them to help them achieve their goals? That's one of the questions, because that then helps me develop marketing messages. It helps me develop copy, helps me develop different products or service offerings that we can give to the members to make their experience better. So asking about the biggest thing they're struggling with, like what's the biggest thing you're struggling with nutritionally right now? And it shows up as a hole in my business that I can then change, right? Or I ask them about different offers that I'm testing, right? So it could be, would you opt in for this, or this? So would you opt in for a free recipe guidebook? Would you opt in for a free 1-month challenge or a discount on a challenge, whatever it may be, right? You start to think about your offers that you're going to make to the market, and you can ask your clients those things in surveys to see what the response looks like so you can use different offers for your advertisement. That's one thing that is actually pretty helpful. So I like questions not about the gym and its operations, but about the individual and what would help them most or what they would react to most. So I like those two things. I like testing offers through surveys and asking about struggles through surveys to the member base so that I can then be in control to create the product, service, or galvanize one of the things that's going on in my business as a service offering so that it's better, or have an offer that works better. So that's what's cool about the question, is because what is the biggest thing that you're struggling with right now? You get a bunch of stuff back. Well, I'm struggling with my midday hunger, or I'm struggling with figuring out how to get enough protein in my diet, or I'm struggling with staying consistent with my training. Then you can develop ways in which you can mitigate some of those struggles that people are having to make your service a better offering for them fundamentally, not like move the clock from here to here or have flavored water or whatever the weird stuff is that people ask for, right? You want
Jimmy, one more time. What was the question? Like, read it out to them one more time so they could write it down.
Oh, so what is the biggest thing you're struggling right now in regards to your health and fitness goals?
Good.
Because you get specific answers. And if you get enough specific answers that are similar, you know there's a need for that. So That's one thing that's important. And then the other one is just your offering, right? Would you rather opt in for this, or this, right? And then you get enough data and you'll get like a pie chart graph, and there'll be a certain percentage of people that want one and don't want the other, or whatever, right? So I tested this out with some free offerings a few years back that I was doing for like digital advertising. And I got some data back, and the clients are much more apt to respond to something that is a little bit of a shorter duration, that is not paid, right? So they want like a month free, really, is what we kind of figured out as far as an offering goes, because the 1 week wasn't enough in comparison to longer durations. So that's kind of what we had found through that survey. I'd like to do one again now because we've been running paid offers for a while. So it would be nice to know if my members would respond better to free offers, paid offers, whatever, right? And a lot of people want free, but depending on your market, some people just don't respond well to like free week or stuff like that because the thing is cheap, right? So, but you got to know that from the data that you can get from the offerings that you're going to try.
Yeah, I have mine pulled up. So this is what I've done, because I want guided questions. I want to guide clients to the answers that I want. So I'm going to tell you guys a couple things that I do. So I asked the same question that Jimmy asked. What is the biggest thing you're struggling with right now? And again, for the same reasons he does. The next thing that I ask them is, I'm not going to ask them the next time I ask, I do the survey again, because this is what I needed at the time. But I wrote, on educational content, do you prefer, and it was bulleted answers. So they have to pick one. So they can't fill it in, right? It's guided. Do you prefer YouTube videos, pictures or infographics, longer emails, or none? It's too much. Because it just gives me feedback on what they want to see, right? But I'm not going to use that one, but I think it's good to use that one initially so you have an idea of what your clients like. The next thing I ask them is, again, guided questions, because I want to pulse on what's happening in their mind at the gym. So the next question I ask is cleanliness of the gym. And I do highly dissatisfied. I only do a scale of 1 to 4. and 4 highly satisfied. This way, when I look at it, I could say, okay, we had 100, because the survey breaks it down by percentages. You can look at the data. We use Google Forms for this. So Google Forms will give you like a percentage back. So you can see where people fall. So now I know, okay, the pulse, 75% of the people, whatever, 90% of the people think that we're a 4. So that's good. Check. The next thing, AB Fitness Center training session experience, 1 through 4. Again, guided. I don't want them to put their, hey, I think we should change the colors of the gym to blue. I want to know what you think of your experience. And again, it gives me a pulse on what's going on. And I think that's kind of like the questions that I ask them. The next question I ask is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you with your overall experience? Just overall. And this one, I give them a short text box so they can explain why. And that's it. That's really it. And then I always at the bottom, any comments, concerns, or feedback, just so they feel like they've been heard. But that's all I ask. And the answers help me, again, keep a pulse on what I need to keep a pulse on. Is the gym clean enough? Is the experience good? That's really all I want to know. And obviously the stuff that Jimmy mentioned before, like, for marketing purposes. But other than that, that's really it. That's all we ask on our surveys. Simple, easy. And again, it just allows you to have the pulse on it without having those stupid things in there that are going to guide you. And you're going to get that, right? That's why I just put that at the bottom. Any questions, concerns, feedback, just fill it in, because you just want them to feel heard. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen. But again, when you get those answers, look at the data. I don't want to beat this up more than that, but if you're going to run a survey, I would run it with just those questions that we've told you guys today. And that's all you need. Use Google Forms, because this way, when you get the answers back, especially the pointed ones, the bulleted ones, it'll give you back the percentage, and Okay, so like, for example, if you asked about your gym's cleanliness, and you got back 2s and 3s, and then that there's a problem and you need to clean it. Or same thing on the experience side. If they're putting 2s and 3s on experience, not good. But remember, most of the people who are going to answer the surveys too are going to be your good clients. The clients that you really want the feedback from are not going to be the ones to fill it out. So you kind of have to incentivize them to fill it out. So you might have to do something where, hey, you get a free session if you fill out this form, and have your trainers literally sit there, watch them fill it out, and then confirm that, and they'll get the free session. Because you want to try to get 100% back from the survey. So this way you have a real, true pulse on what's going on. Because remember, the clients that don't, if you blanket send this out to everybody, the clients that don't respond are the ones that you want the feedback from. Right. So just keep that in mind.
And you can also use SurveyMonkey. There's a free version of it that does work. So if Google Forms works really well and it's part of your Google suite, so you might as well use it. But if you're somebody that wants to use something a little different, you can also use that. That's what we've used in the past, is just SurveyMonkey. It's like very similar stuff. I find
it's whatever you want
it to be a little more user friendly, but it's whatever you want to use. So that's the long and short of it, man. Ask data-based questions that you can make changes on and make different product or service offerings to your members that impact them positively.
Exactly. So guys, if you want to continue this conversation, just click those links below. But until next time, Anthony and Jimmy, Fitness Profit Multiplier, we are